Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Episode 2, Post and Pints podcast. We talk soccer, we drink beer. Alongside Matt,
Hi.
Dre, Alex, and Kyle. I'm Justin.
Hi.
Got it right this time. Welcome to episode 2. Want to give a shout out to anybody that liked, shared, talked about, listened to episode 1. And yeah, I might as well kick it off. Matt, what are you drinking tonight? Please don't be some really sappy story.
I'm sorry, I'm just falling in love with Justin's eyes all over again. Now
Well, you see them a lot more now because there ain't nothing else to look at on my face.
Are we mentioning this?
But that's what I'm
Oh,
doing right
yeah.
now. Like,
Oh, God.
so ladies, he's single, he's ready to mingle, and he's got nothing in between you and the sweet love he may provide.
Because I don't have a beard anymore. Great.
What
kind of podcast is this?
Anyway,
So Justin walked in with no beard.
Yeah. So
and
okay. So I'm.
I thought it was a stranger.
Yeah, I was about to say. I ran into Justin last night. We were hanging out at the bar, and like he's waiting for me in the parking lot, and I get out of my car. He's like, okay, and he gets out, and his jacket is all the way up to his nose. And he's like, okay, you ready to go in? I'm like, yeah. And he zips it down, and I started screaming. I started screaming like a stranger.
it was so
my
much
purse.
better that we did
Like,
it outside, and then I was sitting inside because you would have screamed like, "What the fuck?" as soon as you walked into Fox and Now.
No, we're normals at this bar. Like we're regulars, and like everyone treated Justin like that's the first time he's ever walked into that bar.
Yeah, shout out to Kyle behind the bar. Totally looked at me like 8 times. Was like, I know this guy. Didn't say hi. He always says hi, so I know he knows who I am. But
If you've ever seen the TV show Scrubs, there's a character in like the later years. His name is Dr. Beardface. They call him Dr. Beardface, but his name is actually Beard Facet. It's like, why do you all call me that? Well, Seymour, because your beard is 85% of your face. That's why.
that was 90% of my face. Yeah. But anyway, get back to the podcast. What are you drinking, man?
So because Seattle squeezed out a tight victory,
Here it comes.
Toy.
tight, very uncomfortable, especially for everyone in this room who picked Seattle to win.
Yeah.
On a 93rd minute like little debacle on a corner. But yeah, no, I'm drinking Eliason Brewing Company because when we were in Seattle at CenturyLink Field, they had their own like little separate bar.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was really great because you go into stadiums now and they only give you like generic option, like domestic options, and like if you want a craft beer, you gotta walk like to the other side of the stadium 80 floors up to go get one. Now Eliason was
And
everywhere.
it's $20 a glass.
Well, no, this I was about to say it was only like $10.
Well, Seattle knows what they're
Well, I
doing.
was about to say Seattle knows what they're doing, but yeah, Eliason Brewing Company. I am quite enjoying this.
Good. Dre.
Oh, you got my name right. Nice.
Oh, kiss it.
So,
Hey, Trey.
I have
Trey.
this beer that I'm trying for the first time since it finally made it
Looks
to
wild.
the great state of New Jersey. And that is El Segundo Brewing Company's Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA.
Whoa.
So,
No,
I'm
just a little upset. Like when you started drinking that, you didn't smash it together.
Two of them
multiple
together.
at
times,
$17 a 4-pack. I am not smashing these and drinking them like
We'll
Stone
get you.
Cold.
We'll get you some Coors Light. or
Thank you
something
for
later.
caring about my rug, Dre.
We'll buy you a new one.
Yep.
It's white.
But at one point in time, I feel like I might have to do that, just because.
The rattlesnake
you have
effect.
to. I
Stone
feel like
Cold,
you're.
you know?
I feel like you're disrespecting
Yeah.
Stone Cold himself.
By
And
now.
that's the bottom line.
And that's it, because I think that's copyrighted, so we can't go any further.
Nope.
Clearly, Alex is not drinking out of a can or a bottle. What do you got
Shocker.
there?
No. I'm going back in time. I have a nice old-fashioned here I made.
Very classy.
Very classy.
I would like to mention how Alex has a little metal Altoids looking
Survival
of
kit.
like of a old-fashioned kit with like the sugar cubes, and it's got the little spoon, and it's got bitters. It's
So
literally an
the funny
old-fashioned
story
kit.
behind that, my brother I think got it for me for Christmas or my birthday.
Best gift ever.
Best gift ever, and if he's listening, which I know he is, I'm out of supplies, so I can use another one. Thank you.
Hey Alexa.
You know where I live.
Hey Alexa, please refill toilet paper.
Alright.
Cow.
I'm busy drinking. I'm sorry, Kyle. Go on, Kyle. What do you
Well,
got?
last week I had the South Florida Ale.
Of course.
Viking Army. This week I have VSC's beer. Bolero Snort Brewery, Orange Cream Pop IPA.
So now we'll lose this week. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know, but anytime you're drinking a creamsicle, I think you're having a good time. And
Yeah,
it looks like Kyle's having a good time.
It tastes wonderful.
Everybody's having a good time.
It tastes wonderful. They're from Karlstadt. They're going to have their beer with ESC at every game this year.
Nice.
I know it's a podcast, people can't see it, but this is one of the coolest labels I've ever seen in my life.
It's a good rip
Well,
off of the
I
actual
mean, that's
logo,
what everything is
but it looks
nowadays.
awesome.
I was
No
just
one's
about to
original,
say,
but
like,
it's so cool.
When you're buying that at the liquor store, I have to assume you think you're like waiting in
That was
line.
made
at,
for
ice
someone our
cream
age. Like, hey, this is
yeah.
what you grew up eating.
Yep.
Here's a beer.
You
that
waited
tastes like a creamsicle.
if you waited in line at the ice cream truck and you wanted a creamsicle, it's literally the same thing.
I
And
love
it's
it.
like, I need this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Justin and I would literally die if we drank it. Shout out milk sugar.
Yeah, y'all don't want that.
It happens.
I'll help.
I don't
Everybody's
have-
got
I
their
don't have
crosses to
problems with
bear.
Alright, boys. What's on the agenda
Well,
today?
how about you let?
Yeah, I'm not drinking or anything tonight. Actually, I am.
Oh, shit.
And something different.
That's
Voodoo
how
Ranger,
we got.
New Belgium, Imperial IPA. It's not bad. We'll leave it at that.
Is it good?
Episode 2, lots to talk about. Stop rubbing yourself, you weirdos. The world is coming to an end.
It's the end of the world! God loves you! He's gonna kill you!
Italy in quarantine, Liverpool loses, German league chaos, and a team beats Messi to the punch. We might as well start with Matt in Premier League.
Yeah, no, I'll get started with it. And as you said,
Don't forget to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Just gotta put that in there.
hot water.
Hot water.
Hot water, guys. So this is this is a key thing, and I get it like public service announcement, nothing to do about soccer. When you
Wash
get
your ass.
when you get
Wash
home,
your ass, guys.
So when
Thanks,
you
Trey.
get when you get home from work,
Wash your ass.
That's actually the first thing I do. I don't know about
You gotta make sure you're clean. But go on.
the first
Matt.
thing, so the first thing you do when you get home, grab an alcoholic wipe off, like clean your phone, because a lot of people don't realize all day, yeah, you're washing your hands throughout the day, but your dirty hands throughout are touching your phone screen left and right. When you get home, alcohol wipe your phone. No, Alex, don't give me that look. I'm saving your life right now.
So
Okay,
dumb.
I'm saving your life.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Keep it up. I'm not giving you allowances.
Oh,
now,
man.
now that the PSA is over.
Yeah, it's great. Nobody cares.
So Liverpool lost, and I'm gonna take a moment, and we're all gonna sit here quietly and look at Kyle as he smiles. Really, and he's raising his arms in the air like he's having a great
Cheers,
time
kids.
Because
Watford is Arsenal's best player this year.
Hands down.
I'm telling you right now, and you're reading reports that Sarr is already like worth $100 million.
Yeah.
This guy can barely make it onto Watford's starting 11, but he's going to be worth $100 million before this season's over because he made Trent Alexander-Arnold look foolish all game.
Well, we all know the real MVP is that 10-year-old kid that wrote the letter.
Yes.
We're going to talk about him in a second. I'm going to get back into it. Not only has Arsenal in the last 2 weeks, lost to Atletico Madrid in the Champions League.
Arsenal? You just said Arsenal.
Not Arsenal. I'm sorry, not Arsenal. No, I'm sorry, Liverpool. Liverpool has lost to Atletico Madrid. Then, in the Premier League, almost lost to West Ham. Like, if Fabianski's paycheck, if he didn't get a pay increase randomly from a Liverpool scout to howler a ball between his legs, almost lost to West Ham. Shout out David Moyes. Then lost to relegation side Watford. My God. Out of nowhere, I'm watching bits
Jersey's on order.
I'm watching bits and pieces.
Troy Deeney.
I'm watching bits and pieces because I honestly don't. I think Liverpool's going to walk away with this. I walk away for a little bit, and all I do is I get a text from Kyle go, so this scoreline confuses me.
My head hurts.
So I immediately run over and I turn on the TV, and I'm just like, I see 3-0, and I'm like,
I think they have like the name switched or something.
that's what I'm thinking.
Somebody in
like,
the graphic
this is
department's
wrong.
really messing up
Someone's
right
getting
now.
fired.
Somebody's getting
I don't know
fired
how much
today.
of the second half of the game I saw. I just spent like 45 minutes just zeroed in on the score waiting for them to change it.
So, not only Kyle, but I think I reached out to every Arsenal fan I knew or personally know, and everyone was basically throwing their own party in their own house because Arsenal will now, and I'm saying this, it'll still be plenty of years before another team goes undefeated in a Premier League season. I think it's too difficult. And I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of pressure to be undefeated an entire year. Like, give Liverpool credit where credit's due. They only drew one game compared to Arsenal's like 12 draws they had in their invincible season.
Right.
But you got to give credit. Draws are just as important as wins in a lot of cases, and this is a prime example. Key things to take away from this game: they didn't bench anyone. Like Salah, Firmino, Van Dijk, Mane. Alisson, all their usual players everyone was starting. And like you think to yourself, when Liverpool put out their best 11, forget about Watford. You're thinking about best teams in the world that can't beat them.
Yeah.
And Watford, Troy Deeney FC. Which, by the way, I'm so glad Troy Deeney got on the score sheet on this, because I would have felt horrible if Watford won, but Troy Deeney didn't participate on that.
Yeah.
It's too funny because then last week, like 2 weeks ago, Manchester United beat Watford, and Troy Deeney literally made a comment in the post game. He goes, "Yeah, we lost to Man United, but we have an easy game against Liverpool in the upcoming week." Low and
the cojones on that guy.
Well, first of all, if you're ever in a bar fight.
Troy Deeney, you
Oh,
want Troy Deeney on your
absolutely,
side.
absolutely.
Next to Jamie Vardy, you want
Oh,
Troy Deeney.
oh yeah.
That was on pay-per-view. I'd buy that.
That's like one of those things
Troy
on
Deeney
Facebook. It's
with
like
Jamie Vardy.
pick the people that you would need for like an apocalypse or a zombie outbreak or whatever. Those two right there.
Who wins here? For those, I know Dre knows Premier League and I know Kyle knows Premier League. If Troy Deeney and Jamie Vardy got into a fight, who would win?
I feel like Deeney got it.
Who's more scrappy?
I feel like Deeney got
So
it.
I think.
I'm going with Vardy.
See,
Who would take off their cleat and stab the other guy?
Vardy. I think.
Then Vardy wins.
No, I'm thinking Troy Deeney's the guy who's gonna take you 10 rounds and he's gonna beat you up good. But I think Jamie Vardy's the type of guy who's gonna take
Vardy
off.
was under probation
Yes,
for a while
but
for
that's
a bar fight,
but
so
I-
actually I might have to.
He's sitting there in the
retract my
corner,
statement.
sharpening
Yeah,
his
I was about to
cleats,
say-
getting them all nice and
But that's
jagged.
Might have
I
to-
think Jamie Vardy's the type of guy who physically takes off his boot and just starts swinging it.
Wasn't it a Man U player that jumped in the crowd, cleats first into a fan?
Our king, Eric Cantona.
There you go.
Okay.
Jesus.
When you jump into the crowd, boot
Dude,
first, and
he
can
didn't
you
even,
drop?
He didn't even need to take his boots off to stab the guy. He
and-
just jumped.
No, he jumped right in and put the boot to center mass chest of a fan.
And then he's like, 10 years later, he's like, "Yep,
yeah,
I did that.
I did it."
and he did it, and it absolutely
No shame. No shame.
and it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But big key takeaways, like I said, the big thing here is Liverpool had a full strength side, but for the first time all year, and you know it's really funny. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you know, what did Lovren do?" You know, that's Liverpool's having problems in the back. What did Lovren do? Out of their 3 of their last 4 games, Lovren's only started and played in 1. For the first time in what has to be 2 seasons, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Virgil van Dijk look human. Like, Trent Alexander-Arnold was taken for a ride against Watford. They kept sending Delafeu and Sarr. We kept overlapping on his side. Trent Alexander-Arnold had no idea what to do. Absolutely crazy. And you know what? I'm glad someone did it, but you know what? And you see it. They just lost the other day. They lost 2 days ago against Chelsea.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They've lost 3
Three
out
out
of
of the
4
last 4.
games to a team that like no one thought would lose. Incredible. I mean, and you know, again, I really have nothing more to add on it. I mean, really, hats off to Liverpool and Chelsea for doing what they did. And, you know, it's really going to be interesting to see now with the Champions League second leg coming up. How is Liverpool going to respond? Because both losses against Premier League sides were on the road. So this follow-up with Atletico Madrid is going to be home. I really think Liverpool's home support is really going to back them.
And you have to remember how they had that comeback against Barca last year also. So
Well, that's
like,
but
nothing's off the table.
Oh.
It's only a 1-0 scoreline against Atletico. So that game is not over by a long
And
shot.
I'm telling you right now, and you look at Kyle as well, as you guys really watch the Premier League with me, you're still not betting against Liverpool, right?
Oh, not
No,
a shot.
absolutely
not. A
not.
shot.
I mean, I'm telling you right
There's
now,
no way.
I think you could take the best starting 11 from the entire Premier League and face Liverpool starting 11.
Yeah.
I would still feel comfortable that Liverpool would find
There's,
a way.
there's no way Liverpool doesn't win the league.
Oh, no, I'm not saying wins the league. I'm just talking about a generic, like, just one game
Yeah.
thing. Like, you take the starting 11 best players from the Premier League and go against Liverpool, I still think Liverpool wins.
Probably, yeah.
So, I mean, outside of that, there's really nothing else going on. Definitely, I mean, the top of the table is very interesting right now in the Premier League. But if you're going to watch the Premier League, watch the relegation battle. There are currently right now between 19th place and 12th place in the Premier League right now are separated by just over 10 points. With a good chunk of games left, there's going to be a lot of movement. And you always have your usual teams up top. But seeing teams fight for every last point, I mean, you look at this. Watford went into that game against the best team in the world, in my opinion. They won, and now they're out of the relegation zone. But guess what? You lose next week, and Southampton comes in, West Ham comes in,
And you're right
someone
back
comes,
in.
and you're right back in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
Don't take any credit. Norwich, who's in last place,
Never
dead
seen.
last place, beat Leicester 1-0.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. That's the wonder of the Premier League.
That's it? I thought you were going to go on forever.
No.
Dre.
I
what-
was told I only had minutes.
That's it. And you stayed
Oh,
straight to it. That's pretty good.
all 15.
Bundesliga, Byron, Hoff, breakdown. What do you
Alright,
got?
So this week in the
I
Bundesliga
want to see fights.
was pretty
Right.
interesting and controversial, and it really had very little to do with the football aspect of it.
Are you
but
telling
I'll
me
cover-
football violence isn't actually about football violence?
Sometimes.
Football violence.
So I'll do the match day coverage real quick. So Bayern whipped Hoffenheim's ass 6-0, and all of that is without Lewandowski because he's out for about 4 weeks with
What
a
happened?
minor injury.
Oh, what happened?
I think he picked up like an ankle injury or some kind of leg injury in
Picked
the
up.
previous game. I think the game against Chelsea.
Quick
He
question:
finished
Can
the
you
game,
pick that
but-
up at Walmart or Target?
Yeah, where do you get that at?
Usually you pick it up in
Can I prime that?
No.
Is that an Amazon
not allowed.
Prime shipping? Kind
They
of
don't
thing?
offer 2-day shipping.
Ah.
Two-day shipping
unfortunately.
on little knocks like that.
Only,
No.
only available.
No.
I love when
up
I
in
hear
store only.
commentators like actually say like, "And he picked up an injury." I'm like, where did he pick it up?
Couldn't get it delivered. No. But yeah, that happened I think again in the game against Chelsea. But Bayern showed they don't need to have Lewandowski to put up big numbers, and they definitely proved that in this game. Felipe Coutinho got 2 goals.
I'm so glad.
The youngster Xerxes got a goal, so that's nice.
I'm so glad, and I know like with Alex watching a lot of La Liga, and he'll say it too, as well as Kyle as well, because we appreciate Philip Coutinho when he was with Liverpool. I'm just glad he's got something going for him, because I feel
The
like
thing is, up until this game, he was like starting to fall out of the graces in the team because he wasn't having the best
I've
performances.
never seen a player fall in and out of grace so
quickly, so
I feel
many
like
times in
I
one
feel like
season,
there's
yeah.
so many honestly I look at it like there's a lot of teams in the world who a guy will go 2 months and have a bad stretch. But you know what? Hey, I love him. He's a great guy. I don't know why every time I listen I hear about Phil Coutinho, I'm either seeing him score a couple goals, get a couple assists, and look worldy,
Yeah.
or he hasn't done anything for a month. Oh, you know what? Oh, he's clearly out of form. Why is he on this team? He's going to get
Yeah,
loaned out
that's-
somewhere else.
That's pretty much the story that's happening here. Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is a question for the listeners if anyone wants to answer this and you are someone who followed Philip Coutinho's career heavily. Why does he get the scrutiny he does? I really want to know why.
I feel like my opinion on that is that he is almost kind of sold as a starting player, but then everywhere he goes, he never really becomes one, Barca, he didn't get that starting shot. Bayern, he's not a consistent starter. He'll start some games, won't start others. So
I just think with
he has a lot of skill and can score the goals and stuff, but never seems to be able to convince the coaches to make him that starting guy.
But what is his best position in your opinion?
The thing is, we have a lot of midfielders now, so he's pretty good
But,
center attacking mid.
if you're starting a team and Phil Coutinho is the first person on your team sheet, where are you putting
I
him?
put him right behind the striker.
So what, at number 10?
Yeah, right,
But see-
center attacking mid, somewhere around there.
But see now
He does play in the wing sometimes for Bayern as well. When we've had some injuries there, he's kind of filled in on one side or the other. But his big skill is his dribbling and his footwork. But then sometimes he gets a little selfish with it and doesn't want to pass. Other times it's just worldly the way he breaks ankles on some defenders and scores some nice goals. So he can do it, but I guess not consistent enough to convince a coach to get a starting spot. All right, so there's that game, and I'll definitely come back to that one because there was some controversy towards the end. But then in terms of the top of the table race, you had Borussia Mönchengladbach pull out a win over Augsburg. It wasn't that nice of a win. It was a 3-2 victory, but they did pull out the victory in the end. So they are still, I believe, in 4th place with 1 match in hand against Cologne. Then you had Dortmund with a 1-0 victory over SC Freiburg. And for the first time in a while, Haaland didn't score. Don't worry, all is not over. This happens. Just the fact that this kid had, all these amazing stats of 7 goals in 3 matches or 4 matches, whatever it was, he'll be fine. On the flip side,
I was about to say, eventually they had like.
You gotta slow down.
I mean, it's about to
not
say,
possible to keep that up.
but it's not even slowing down. It's just like, eventually, he has to like. He's gonna come off of that high.
Yeah.
You know, it's
right.
I don't know why.
So,
I feel like, and I hate to see things on social media where it's like
you can't even say he's out of form. No, it's a game.
But it's
a
not.
game.
But it's not even out of form. I just think it's too funny that like you see people on social media, but not only social media, you see like big representations. I'm not like you see them across everywhere. Oh, has Haaland finally hit the wall? How old is this kid?
Yeah.
He's been tearing apart not only the Bundesliga, but he's tearing apart Champions League.
Playing well for Norway in like the Nations League.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you got to be kidding me. There's no way this kid's hit the wall. I actually read somewhere that took, oh, he's officially hit the wall.
Oh, calm down.
How old is he?
I 19 or 20.
Yeah, because we've all hit the wall at 19 and 20 years old.
A couple times, actually.
Justin, put your hand up.
So, in that game, the 1-0 victory for Dortmund, the only goal scorer was Jadon Sancho, another youngster on that team, who now has 14 goals and 14 assists on the season. So, this kid is goal scorer, goal provider.
Now,
he can get it done.
What do you think? Because there's a lot of chatter coming from not only Italian news press, not only Spanish news press, but English news press. Apparently, Man United are willing to match that $100 million.
Show me the money.
That's
Show me the money.
Apparently, they're willing to not only give Dortmund $100 million, but apparently agree to give him the $200,000 a week he's looking for.
Damn.
So, I've spoken about this.
What would you do with $200,000 a week?
Oh my god.
Apparently,
if you're
same thing I do now, just richer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Just play more drums.
Yeah.
How
pretty
quickly would you buy the robot?
I'd probably just be that guy that like still goes to work every day and just increasingly becomes more and more of an asshole to see if he can get fired.
Well, I've always said it. Even if you
wait, I already do
to
that.
collect unemployment.
Oh wait, I already do that.
well,
Winning.
Like, honestly, like I could never just sit around and do nothing. Like I really can't. I would have to go get like, even if I was like loaded rich, I would go and get like some form of part-time job.
You'd
Just
go crazy if you did nothing. Yeah.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, oh look at this massive house I have. Look at all these cars.
I always thought a good idea would be to get like part-time jobs and like screw around for like 2 weeks.
That'd be fun.
And then
I would,
but like do like almost like a sitcom thing where like you kind of videotape a little bit of it and
I'd buy a dive bar.
shut the fuck up.
I'd go back
to retail. Go back to retail. Wait
Look
until
out.
I get a fucking Karen ass looking bitch customer, and then curse her the fuck out, and then walk out middle fingers up.
God, your dreams are so high up
just
there.
Drop, Mike.
That's it. That's all it is. Fuck you,
Forget
Karen.
seeing the world.
Fuck
Forget
you,
anything
Karen.
else. You just want to
No,
go after Karen.
Sorry, that's not on sale. No, sorry, coupon's expired. No, so I am the manager. Sorry, bye, Karen.
I would buy
That was
a
my-
bedroom house.
That was my favorite line. Like once I actually hit manager in retail, that was my favorite line by far.
Where's the manager?
I'd like to speak to your manager. You just immediately pull down your name tag. You're like, I
Fucking-
am the man. Like
You
I
should
love
have
the-
pulled a 360.
Did you see the Yu-Gi-Oh?
I am the manager.
There's the Yu-Gi-Oh meme. There's the Yu-Gi-Oh meme, and there's the one person who's like, oh, I'd like to speak to your manager, and then the like cutout scene is, I am the manager, and the other guy's like, no.
Anyway, so my response to the soccer-related question
You're
is
talking about soccer?
I've been talking about this for a while, but I think Dortmund really needs to be able to hold on to their star players, and right now is the perfect time for them to do that. Right now, last year they challenged for the Bundesliga title. It came down to the last match of the year. This year they're currently in the race in third place for the Bundesliga title. They're still in Champions League as well. They have an amazing core of really awesome and young attacking players. If they're able to hold on to a core group of these players through next season, they are going to be like perennial contenders and very, very dangerous. You got Haaland, Marco Reus has been healthy. You have Emre Can who just got from.
Good for Marco
Right,
Reus
for
being
sure.
healthy. Like I
Absolutely.
get you're a Bayern fan, but like you have to be happy that like Marco
Absolutely.
Reus is actually just.
I'm also like a German national team fan, so watching him miss the World Cup sucked. So it's nice that he's back and
Like
and
Kyle,
form
like
and
I know
healthy.
Kyle and Alex, because they watch just as much soccer as we do. Like it's so upsetting to see Marco Reus always injured, right?
Yeah.
Like
We have another player to talk about when we hit the MLS that I'm excited to see back.
We'll get
But
there.
we'll definitely get there.
So to wrap that
Reese
up,
Buckmaster was dropped by Red Bull.
That's not who I'm talking about. It is a Red Bull player, but we will dive into that later.
Oh,
Go ahead, Dre.
so to wrap it up, yes, I think Dortmund
hate
really
is
needs to
real.
hold on to their attacking players, to their players in general, because they have some really good and talented ones. If they're able to hold on to them, I can see them being able to challenge for lots of titles and trophies every single year. And I think Jadon Sancho is one of those important players that needs to stay. Whether or not they're going to be able to keep him is a whole other story, but I sure hope they can. So, as far as the top of the table, Bayern wins, still in first. Dortmund wins, still in third. Gladbach wins, still in fourth. And then the one game that separated the gap at the top was RB Leipzig, tied 1-1. And that match now created, I believe, a 4-point gap between Leipzig in second and Bayern in first. Now, all the match day coverage is out of the way. The important, or the least interesting aspect of the Bundesliga match day this weekend was the controversy surrounding the banners that a couple ultra groups brought and showed at the stadiums of a couple games.
That's pretty wild, yeah.
Yeah. So,
German football violence?
very much so.
Football violence.
No, not just football.
Oh, they've been doing it for a really long time.
German football
Yeah.
violence. I assume when I
Football
hear
violence.
when I hear German football violence, I assume the same football violence, except they're all walking around with steins.
Yes.
It's accurate. It's very accurate.
I do not agree with the things that you are saying, sir. Why are you holding beer? Why am I not holding beer?
Violence on the eye.
Yeah.
So, in one of the things that makes German football and soccer so interesting and unique compared to other leagues in the world is its fan culture and ownership structure. So Germany has this rule called the 50+1 rule, which states that 50% of the club plus one share must be owned by the supporters themselves. And this goes across the entire league. There are a couple exceptions, which I'll get into maybe, but generally speaking, every single German Bundesliga football club is owned by the supporters. They have thousands or sometimes tens and hundreds of thousands of members that pay dues and can get to vote on everything within the team relating to jersey colors, crest logos, all kinds of stuff, and all kinds of different decisions within the club. Certain clubs do have exceptions to that, and that's kind of what gets into this controversy. Because one of those clubs that has an exception to the 50+1 rule is Hoffenheim. Now, the clubs that do have these exceptions to the 50+1 rule get a lot of flack from the ultras and the fans and supporters of all the other Bundesliga clubs because they see it as a way to circumvent the culture of German soccer, and it's almost as a way of cheating, almost as a way of buying their way to doing better in the league or to getting good players and all that kind of stuff. And they're really not about that.
Now, is there like something like along the lines of, is there like a reason why Hoffenheim does this? Is there like, or is it
So Hoffenheim, the four teams that have exceptions to the 50+1 rule are Wolfsburg and Bayer Leverkusen, Hoffenheim, and RB Leipzig. The first two, they're kind of grandfathered in because Wolfsburg is the factory in the town where they make the Volkswagen car. So the soccer team, Wolfsburg, literally started as factory players from the Wolfsburg car factory, and then eventually they became not an amateur side, a professional team, so that they still stuck with that VW ownership, even though they were no longer a amateur team.
Do they still have the VW
Yes.
on the front?
Number two was Bayer Leverkusen, owned by the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company. Same deal there. These were the players that played in the factory where they produced the medicine and stuff. So they also had that exception where they literally were a amateur team that played for the factory and eventually became professional. The other two exceptions are RB Leipzig, which is the new one, and then Hoffenheim. So for the sake of Hoffenheim, they were a small team from the city of Hoffenheim. It's a village, just 3,000 people, and they...
I don't want to hear any excuse about people not showing up for soccer games when there's a soccer club that's from a town that's 3,000 people,
And they fill- and they fill
you know they sell out that stadium.
Oh, well, you're about to hear why. It's more than just the town of Hoffenheim. So...
Which, by the way, outside of Dusseldorf, second best name.
Yes.
in
There's a lot of
German
cool
soccer.
German names.
No, I'm telling you right now, I'd root for a soccer team named Dusseldorf any day, but I would immediately come in the I'd come in with the Gandalf wizard hat. I'd walk into every single game. Who do you root for? I root for Dusseldorf.
Anyway, Dusseldorf.
Don't make fun of my German heritage.
You
Alright?
fun to say
shall
Dusseldorf.
not pass.
Hoffenheim. Yeah, go on. Sure.
Kyle, you okay? You need some water over there, champ?
You guys good?
I'm not.
Kyle's
okay.
as red as his shirt right now.
I don't want to live this life anymore.
Alright, let me try to finish up as quickly as I can. So Hoffenheim, essentially through the patronage of Dietmar Hopp, was able to go from the 8th tier of German soccer in the late 1990s to the Bundesliga by 2005, and then the last 10 years or 15 years they've been in the Bundesliga solidly, all because he took a village club from a village of 3,000 people where he played in the youth academy, became a multi-billionaire with the company SAP, which was one of the biggest tech IT firms in Germany and even the world, and then reinvested upwards of hundreds of millions of euros into the team, got them promoted from the 8th tier to the 2nd tier, and then from the 2nd Bundesliga into the 1st Bundesliga, and since then they've been around for 10 years. So a lot of fans resent the fact that this, what should be a village amateur squad that no one 5 miles away from the town should even know about, to a team that has played in European competition, because this man has invested close to $300 million of his own money to get them there. So that doesn't sit well with a lot of fans. Now, what's been happening in the late 2000s, the Borussia Dortmund Ultras were protesting this, and they called him a son of a bitch, and they put up banners and signs and stuff, and Hopp took offense to this. Hopp. The guy's name is Dietmar Hopp. He took offense to this and did some pretty crappy things, including installing microphones in the arena to listen to these fans, to point out which ones did it. This rich white billionaire would go out and file lawsuits against these these fans.
Because there's definitely not MLS teams that use megaphones.
Yeah. Not mega. I'm talking. He would install mics in the stadium to find out which fans said something mean about him, and then, take them to court. So the Ultras kept doing this over and over, and it grew into a big controversy. Eventually, in the late 2000s, they kept giving them collective punishments when they would ban them from going to certain games and whatnot. And then in 2017, the German Football League said that they would stop doing collective punishments and no longer punish entire traveling sections for, these violations of certain individual fans. Then, earlier this season, the German football authorities gave Dortmund fans a 2-year travel ban from going to any Hoffenheim games. Now, normally Bayern and Dortmund are very much rivals, but the Ultra clubs all agreed that this is a huge violation. The German authority crossed the red line drawn in the sand, and all the Ultra groups across the league are banding together in opposition to the DFL, and that's where you get these banners at a Bayern game, and that's where you get these banners at a Union Berlin game, all against Hoffenheim, because of the fact that German authorities are seemingly protecting this billionaire. So what happened at the game was, they put up the banner that called Hopp a son of a bitch or a son of a whore, based on how you translate it, and it called out the DFL for protecting him. Then the referee saw the banner, stopped the game. You had Bayern's team and coach go up to their away section and try to calm the fans down, have them put the banner away. The referee sent both teams into the tunnel so that they would get off the pitch. Eventually, the Bayern fans put the banner away and stopped. The game was restarted. And then the last 12 minutes of the game, both Bayern and Hoffenheim just kicked the ball back and forth, played keepsy-upsy. They were juggling the ball.
We'll find the link and we'll put it in the show notes.
I'll definitely put the link in there for you.
I don't want to use the word eerie. It was definitely it was a culture kind of shock. It was it was very
It was 12 minutes of opposing teams not attacking, not striking, not standing in any kind of formation.
The goalies, where if someone wanted to just be screw this and just kick it down, they would have gotten a goal.
Right.
So you have guys who are trying to get their goal numbers up, their assist numbers up, But
Yeah.
they're all just like, no, this is more important.
Yeah, so like
I just
the two teams of Bayern and Hoffenheim, they to show solidarity, they agreed that they're not gonna play the game anymore, and for 12 minutes they literally kicked the ball around. And I was watching the game on FS1. At like the 82nd minute, they just cut to commercial and never came back. They're like, all right, well the team's doing this, the game's done, and they literally did not come back for the remaining 8 minutes of the game.
I just want to give a shout out to the referee that was like, hey, there's something wrong going on in the crowd. Everyone off the field.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you realize in Portugal, there's literally racial chants to the point where
I'll
the
get to
guy
that, 'cause-
is trying to get off the field because he's being racially abused. And the ref gave him, the player trying to get away from the racism, a yellow card because you're against the game.
Right.
You gotta be kidding me.
Here's something interesting, because that actually comes into this as well, and is a big reason of why the ultras are mad. So Germany has this 3-step process for addressing issues in the crowd. First step is you stop the match, try to get the problem fixed in the crowd. Second step is you send both teams into the tunnel, and then third step is you abandon the match completely, and there's no winners or losers. The match is abandoned. So what happened in this match was the first 2 steps. The third step would have been abandoning it. Now this weekend in the match between Union Berlin
Now,
and
what would have happened if they because I know in
Bayern
different
would
leagues.
they would not get the win. They were up 6-0 and they would not get the win if the match was canceled.
So if the match was canceled, it would have just 0-0,
Yep.
just
Just no one gets anything.
no points.
I don't know if it would have been a tie or no points. Like I don't know actually because it's never happened, but they definitely would not get 3 points for sure. So the other match that had the same controversy was Union Berlin versus Wolfsburg. Now notice none of those teams are Hoffenheim, and yet still the Union Berlin Ultras held up a banner cursing out Dietmar Hopp for the same exact reasons as mentioned before. The referee did the same thing, and now this is what leads to the controversy. This is the first time that the German referees have used this procedure to stop a match. They haven't used it when there have been racist chants. They haven't used it when there have been sexist chants, of which there's been a lot. In the third league, there was a match once where there's the first ever German team that has an all-women supporter section.
Right.
And one of, I don't know if it was the same teams or the opposing teams' ultra groups, held a banner, something along the lines of like, oh, girls, wear your bras or something. And like they had a whole bunch of bras. It was a big sexist insult to this all-women supporter group. Nothing. Didn't stop the match, didn't send the teams in the tunnels, didn't cancel it, nothing like that. And that was a huge sexist incident on top of all the racist incidents you know about.
I don't want to be
a lot
that
of-
guy, but money talks here. So
Right, and one of the things that ultra clubs are pissed about is why are the German authorities and referees protecting this billionaire but not calling out legitimate instances of racism?
Right.
They never stopped the match for racist taunts or chants or signs, but they now did when you insult a rich white guy. So that's a lot of the controversy happening there. They also feel like their voices aren't being heard. They're not being allowed to protest peacefully. They're not being able to speak their mind. Their civil rights are being violated with these microphones that he was installing and these lawsuits that this
again, you
billionaires...
really give up your rights when you sign off, buy a ticket, and go to the game.
I
so
understand, but
I know where
it's
they're
larger
coming
than
from,
that.
yeah.
It's that's how the ultra groups see it. So now we're kind of at a standstill here between the German Football League and the ultra clubs because neither one's backing down. One sees the other as a nuisance, and then the ultra groups see the German Football League as breaking a promise they made not to do collective punishments and ban fans from matches. So we're in the middle of a little clusterfuck here.
Well,
And,
you gotta take care of your
where we're
fans because they pay to come see you,
Right.
and they pay for the
and like I
beer,
said,
and they pay for
it's
everything
not
else.
only the fans
so.
come to pay and see you. In Germany, the fans own the teams.
Right.
Literally and figuratively own the teams. So that's a big issue there. I'll definitely provide a bunch of notes in the show notes.
You dive
'cause
into
I
that
did a
in
bunch of
your
research on
your
this.
own podcast, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'll plug it at the end.
We'll plug
but
it
in
in
my
there.
own podcast, I do an episode about this itself, so I'll plug that at the end of this. But that's kind of what's going on in Germany. So the title race is exciting, but
Typical
the
Germany,
Ultras-
wild things happening as
Ultras
always.
have some controversy going on as well. I'm gonna shut my rants up now
Nah, you're all right.
and move on.
No, that's good.
Thanks,
Alex,
Matt. I mean, Dre.
Trey.
If
Wait.
Matt didn't keep
Trey.
interrupting.
Alex, wake up, wake up.
I'm up.
You're up.
I mean, I was told we're being charged by the minute here, so I'm gonna have to cut mine a little short now. Thanks, Dre. Sorry. So it's
Stop making fun of me. It's a subtle making fun of me, and I don't like it. I call the kid Trey one time. All right.
That's what you get. Do you know
One
the number
time.
of friends are sitting around right now? So it's week 26, El Clasico. Not much more to it. That's the whole discussion.
It's the biggest game in
it's the
soccer.
biggest game in soccer.
Mhm.
I mean, anyone else watch it?
We all did.
Not with me, you didn't.
Sure.
Dude, you realize, like, in the parking lot at the Red Bull game, I had El Clasico on my phone.
No,
I was
rewatched it
drinking
after.
too much.
Die Hard
I
fans, you
I
guys.
rewatched it the next day.
Yeah, I had to rewatch it the
I
next
was
day.
drinking too much. I didn't know what was going on.
I came from bachelor party, went straight to the game. So, anyway. So
Hockey was
Clasico.
on, so.
Oh, hockey.
I'm sorry, didn't watch it.
What the heck's a hockey?
Okay, we'll dive into
It's
that
not
in some
soccer.
other podcast. But
Anyway.
Alex, go on.
I
Dude,
think I saw
so
it in the beer
what a
garden.
match. We know that Real obviously won 2-0.
Oh, thank God.
Yep. I am a Real fan, so
I don't
I'm pretty happy
I
about
don't
it.
like either Barcelona or Real Madrid. I don't
But
like
do you hate
either
one
of
a little
them.
bit more than the other?
Do you hate it because all the kids pick it on
No,
FIFA and
no,
then beat
no.
you
Yeah,
when you
no,
pick
no,
Manchester United?
Manchester United
There's a
had
12-year-old that
Cristiano
just whipped
Ronaldo.
him.
We did not birth Cristiano Ronaldo, but we mended him into the man he was,
Mhm.
and then we handed him to Real Madrid so he may continue his glory. Therefore, I'm okay with Real Madrid. I'm okay with Real Madrid. I don't like Barcelona.
Well, fun fact, you know that Messi has now played them 5 times and has not scored since Ronaldo's gone or left.
It's almost like it's like the ghost, like Ronaldo just like
Just
he was in attendance.
Some
He was
voodoo,
in-
Yeah,
some
no, he was
voodoo
there.
magic.
He was
Some
there.
voodoo
he was
magic?
there.
Wow.
He was
There was
there.
something on Facebook where he was like, the people were taking pictures of him. He's like, no, pay attention to the game.
See,
Stop
that's-
looking at me.
See, that's where I love Cristiano. It's like, yes, I get it. I'm here now. Watch the damn game.
If you think about it, it's pretty impressive that Ronaldo's had just as many goals as Messi since he left the league. It's kind of impressive, you know.
Oh, in El Clasico, yeah.
What's that number?
I see what you did there.
Big zero.
Oh, the big zero.
Now,
I
do
see
you,
what you
now,
did there.
Across the room, do you feel like El Clasico has kind of lost a little bit of its flair now that CR7's not there anymore?
It's lost the whole aspect of the footballing world having the two best players face off each other.
Exactly.
But El Clasico is still a Clasico.
Oh, I think so.
You just no longer have the two best guys.
I was
in
just
it.
listening to like another podcast where like someone was like diving in like, oh yeah, I think El Clasico's like lost its flair a little bit. And I'm sitting here like, it's the biggest game in La Liga, and it doesn't matter where you go, like any other league, you pay attention when it's La Liga. Like
You
when
stop and watch.
You
this.
watch
Yeah.
you watch El Clasico.
Exactly. Doesn't matter who.
There's
who's on
certain
the
games
team.
in every league you watch, especially when you're just someone who just avidly loves soccer.
Mhm.
And I feel like I don't. Even when Messi eventually retires, like Cristiano Ronaldo's eventually going to retire, Messi's eventually going to retire.
You shut your whore mouth.
I know, right?
And you know
Isn't
who
it-
we have to watch?
Retire
You know
to
who we
the
have watch out
MLS.
for? Vinicius.
Yeah, I mean, what is he? 19 years old?
I don't even think.
And you have Ansu
17.
Fati,
think-
that's like 16.
No, don't
or
quote me on
17.
this, but I want to say like 16, 17.
No, he's not.
No, Fati
No,
is
he's-
like 17.
Yeah.
or something.
18 or 19.
Well, those
Oh,
are
he's
those.
18, 19.
Well,
Well,
those
still-
those
still
are
he's a
those
kid.
are those are the kids who eventually are going to like, hey, this is.
The kid, as I look at Justin's baby face without a beard,
If you've ever met Justin,
it's
you know
so scary.
he's
Sorry to
had-
bring it up
Anybody,
again.
anybody that's ever met me in the last 10 years knows that I have a beard.
I feel like
I've never seen you without a beard.
I feel like 8 or 10 times in this
Most people
conversation
have it.
alone, We're gonna keep bringing up the fact that Justin doesn't have facial hair. It's creepy to look
I
at.
think there's a,
I
there's
can't
a
look at
stranger
myself.
out of the corner of my eye. I just keep seeing this.
I'll
stranger.
cover it
No,
up,
no,
so-
it's just, oh, thank you. Thanks
Like,
for covering it up.
Okay.
No one can see this, but it's very comforting. A quick recap for the first and second half. Both teams came in with different strategies. Madrid wanted to play, fast-paced ball, while Barca played a more controlled game. Barca came in, the first shot went right over the bar. I believe the second was Arthur, went in with an amazing run, but the shot was saved by the goalkeeper. And
Theo Courtois, and you know what? That's another player I'm really glad. First of all, what a gorgeous name. But number two, it's like that's another player I'm glad kind of fell back into the good graces because like I know a lot of Madristas and they are like when Courtois first got there, it was like, yo, he is horrible. We spent so much money on a guy who is not good. Like he was good in the Premier League, he's not good
Dude,
here.
and
But
this is his second Clasico with no goals against him.
see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's slowly starting to work his name back into the conversation of like top 5 goalies in the world.
Definitely.
Definitely. And you know what? I mean, Ter Stegen really, he's still very. I honestly, Ter Stegen. I know Dre very big on German football. Would you be okay right now, Dre? Would you be okay? Like, who would you right now? If you're Bayern Munich and you had your choice between Ter Stegen and Manuel Neuer right now.
I'll keep Neuer for now.
2 years from now, is that the same answer? You're looking for the long term.
We'll see. We already got the long term replacement, so.
Yeah, Hoffenheim's goalie.
Schalke's
going. My
We
apologies.
currently have Schalke's old goalie. We're gonna have their next goalie. Schalke's gonna keep just giving. We don't buy players from Schalke. We buy players from Dortmund, but we buy goaltenders from Schalke. Seems to be working.
That's their youth
It's a
program.
bold strategy, Con.
Yeah, Bayern doesn't have a youth program. They just keep buying players from Dortmund.
And Schalke.
All right, finish up.
But yeah, no, I mean, we had the first goal in the 71st minute, and Mariano, that was Vinicius, and then Mariano, I believe, was the 92nd minute, right at the
Yeah, I
end.
was about to say that was like.
Dude, second half, it was game over.
No, I mean what? You know what's the nice thing with El Clasico? It looked like, even though the game was a little wild back and forth, it never looked like it was out of Real Madrid's control. Like, it looked like they had a firm hand on the game the entire game.
Especially in the second half.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the second half, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's...
They just dominated. They took over. But...
I look at Justin, and I think everyone's seen the photo of Sergio Ramos before the beard.
We're back on this.
We're right back on there.
Because every time
I don't
look
think
up-
this episode has anything to do with soccer.
Every time someone
Justin's
looks up, we
face
just
El Clasico edition.
Every time someone
World's
looks up, we
coming
just
to
look
an
at it.
end. What's going on with Justin's face?
It's
I
not
think-
coming to
I
the
think this has to be the next post on Instagram, so everyone can see the before and after.
end. Maybe we'll do it.
What do you mean? Maybe we'll do it.
Justin's really like.
We said it. Now we have to do it.
All right.
So when Justin shaved his beard.
Oh,
like,
so we're
this
just giving away things now.
Yeah, I like to promise things.
When Justin was shaving his beard, he's like, "This is gonna be fine, fresh start, fresh year." And then the second he was done with it, it's like, "Oh my god, I made a mess."
Could you imagine an additional 100 days on that beard if I continue to let it go for your wedding?
Yeah, I really wish.
I'm sorry.
So when we're recording this episode, it's actually 100 days away from my wedding.
Congratulations
really?
again.
Yeah, exactly 100 days
Wow.
today. Yeah.
How you feeling?
Yo,
oh,
so this is gonna no on.
he's
so
turning
this-
really red.
No. I'm excited. I cannot wait to get married. I really can't. My fiance is. I'm doing so like, she's so far out of my league that it's like.
She's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh my god! Like, trust me. I'm. You think soccer makes you happy? My fiance makes me a whole lot happier, and
Like,
I was told and yelled at, like, hey, when you open beers, do it right next to the mic. So.
exactly. Hey, do you want to clean with me?
Do you want to clank?
Let's
Okay,
do
clink,
it.
clink.
Hey.
Wow, that was good. That was actually really
It's a
good.
quality
Hold on.
Tommy Bahama.
Hold on,
whiskey glass.
does the pour work
Did you
as well? I did. I just poured it on the.
You're not getting any of
If
that
we
sound.
lose audio, it's because Matt just poured beer on the mic.
All right, you're
Yeah,
good.
that sound's not coming out.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Kids get reckless.
But let's go over the top 5 standings, and then we'll get
We'll
to
segue.
Kyle.
Yes.
From
Go on.
numero 5, we have Atletico Madrid. 4, Getafe. Then Sevilla. And then obviously Barca. Then Madrid.
Cool. Appreciate it, Alex.
I owe you guys.
Kyle,
I owe you guys a new pillow.
Yeah, you fucking.
we got what do we got? Lockdown
It's
at this
okay.
point in
We'll
Italy.
Clean it up.
There's not much to
I
talk
need a
about. There's not
mask.
much.
I feel like just with Kyle talking
People are
about
dying.
the Italian league, I feel like I should get a
Yeah, I'm
mask.
gonna give you all.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some Purell.
coronavirus.
Let's all buy
But
some,
before that, Dre. Thank you.
let's buy
Yo,
some
boys.
masks on Amazon straight from China. Let's do it.
Lockdown in Italy.
Serie A's been very on and off this year, literally. Italy's pretty much the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak in Europe.
Correct.
There's over 3,000 infected, and so far there's just above 100 deaths reported.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's bad.
The government's pretty much trying to
Why
can
isn't this
sporting.
the first I'm hearing of that number?
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to find.
Because you get all your news from Facebook.
It's actually pretty hard to find. I only
BBC,
found the
which is
number.
strictly
Gets
from
all his
England.
news from Fox.
No, I'm just
Fuck soccer.
BBC strictly does England. They're like, and let's talk about the death toll in England. Nah, we don't need to talk about Italy. That's not.
But the government's trying their best to do what they think is right. They're stopping sporting events and mass gatherings in the areas that are more affected than others. They're trying closed stadiums. They're trying everything.
It's a smart move.
Yeah, they're doing what they can, but the one thing that's definitely happening is the Serie A is being seriously affected for the year because of it. So leading into this, we had a national team game that was canceled altogether. An inter-Europa League match against the Bulgarian team was played to a closed stadium. Then right after that, we had 9 games postponed, including 2 Inter games, one of which was Inter Milan versus Juventus.
What a massive game.
Yeah, for a massive game like that to be put off 3 months. And now because of it, you have Lazio in first place. Juventus is in second.
Everyone raised their hands like Lazio, like, oh my god, like this is a team that like wasn't even supposed to be in the top 5 this year.
Heyo.
That's kind of how I feel.
But you know, like here's the thing, like it's too funny because like I listened to another podcast that's strictly Italian soccer. Shout out to the guys at Top Bins Talk. Like Lazio wasn't even anything in their top 10. Like when they were talking about it, and this is a team that literally, right now, if the season ended, they'd be winning the league.
Which, as a Roma fan, I'm not happy about. So now we have Lazio's on top. Juventus is down 1 game. They lost a game against Inter, which could have been a big game. You could have had anybody on top. Inter is the one suffering the most. They dropped 2 games because of this whole outbreak, and now they're having more and more meetings about what to do if the whole season's canceled. Do you crown a champion? Do you cancel the whole thing? Nobody really knows how to. It's never happened. Nobody knows.
Didn't they just say the
what to
rest
do.
of the season's gonna be played behind closed doors? Or something?
Until April 6th, every game is going to be played behind closed doors. I
And
think
then
they're hoping
does that
that
include-
something weans down between now and then.
Does that include making up the postponed matches, or are those happening?
Well, those
like,
games are going to be
current, like,
rescheduled
months
for
away?
another 3 months.
3 months
Oh
from
wow!
now.
Yeah.
So
Does
we're not going to see those games played until May or June.
Now, was there anything like listed for Champions League? Like the Italian teams left in Europa and Champions League. I mean, I have to assume like
The Europa League game was being played under closed stadium. I believe that's the case for the next one as well. The Italy national team game was just canceled. I haven't heard anything about a reschedule for that.
could you like? I think like wasn't a Barcelona game not too long ago?
Yes,
during
so
the
that situation was when there was a situation in Catalonia, which is where Barcelona is located, where there was a separatist movement. There was an election that day to secede from Spain. There was a whole political thing, and that day they ended up playing. Barcelona ended up playing a game in the closed stadium.
I think it's like either PK or Busquets. I forget. Like it was a bigger name
PK
player.
PK is a big guy for the Catalonia independence.
but
so
I like-
PK went to go vote.
Oh no, I wasn't even saying that. I was saying along the lines like a description after the game when you play in a stadium of 70, 80, 90,000 seats. Like you're used to seeing 80, 90,000 people in those seats. To play in a game that's completely empty.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think I forget, it was either Sergio Busquets, PK, or like Jordi Alba. I forget, it was one of those 3 guys who literally commented they're like it was scary. Like they actually used the word like it was scary playing in an environment like that where you're playing such a big game and you can hear everything. You can hear every pass, you can hear every run.
You could hear like all the players talking to each
To each
other.
other.
You could hear all of it.
Like it's like playing. It really is. It's like playing pickup soccer. Like if anyone who's ever played pickup soccer before, and there's no crowd, you could hear every movement, and it's like, for us, it's no problem because we're not used to playing with more than 5 people watching. While in you go to a Barcelona game, you play at the Now Camp.
It's close to 80,000.
You're used to 80,000 people screaming.
Yeah.
To turn around, play a game, and there's no one there. That's got to be eerie, man. That's
Yeah,
like ghost town eerie.
yeah. Almost kind of like Red Bull Arena.
Very close.
Oh.
Very close.
Oh, that might be the
Oh.
tough way to segue right
guys,
into the
I had-
MLS.
Guys, I had a great night.
Oh,
Oh, I gotta get up. I'll see you guys later.
next week.
I'll see you guys next week.
Oh, that one really hit home.
No,
I'll see myself
But,
out.
before we-
I'm saving myself for the what pissed you off this week.
so but before we finish, we got the Champions League race is still pretty close. You have the top 4 teams, 62, 60, 54, and 48 points. Lazio, Juventus, Inter Milan, and Atalanta. Like I said, the cancellations are really affecting the season. Anybody could have been up front right now,
Right.
but
Plus,
Lazio's
you'll
in
lose your
front.
momentum and everything.
So-
Yeah.
It's just
Wait,
wild.
quick question.
Absolutely.
So the games that were postponed, are they technically postponed past when the normal season ends?
no.
Okay, so it's
No.
still within the regular
So
season.
you're gonna have a lot of double match weeks.
It might be like a Wednesday or
But
Tuesday match.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna really stink though, and it's the same thing. Like if it ever crossed, I mean, no matter what league it crosses over into, you have teams that are representing themselves in Champions League and Europa League. You're already playing a midweek game. So are you really telling me that you could squeeze like
Three
or
games in
three or
one
four-
week?
3 or 4 games in 1 week? you're gonna end up with a situation like Liverpool had like a game. They had literally like the Club World Cup and their FA Cup or their Carabao Cup game. Literally, one on a Tuesday, one on a Wednesday. So Jurgen Klopp literally was at one game playing teenagers, 16 and 17-year-olds against I think like Aston Villa or West Ham. It was Aston Villa.
Yeah.
They lost that game because Aston Villa is playing their usual starting 11 and Liverpool is playing 15 and 16-year-olds. Which, by the way, I still think someone scored a goal, which is like, wow, a 16-year-old scored a goal against an actual professional English Premier League team. But I'm saying, like, with all that, like, cluster going on, that's got to be, like, towards the end of the season, that's going to be so disrespectful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with the cluster, the thing that's really going to suffer is the Europa League race. You had, the last time I did the standings, you had up to 11th or 12th place, all within, like, 3 points of a Champions League spot. Now you have Roma and Napoli have the spots by 45 and 39 points. Roma has a decent lead on Napoli. And 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place are all still within 5 points, but that race is going to get really convoluted really fast with all the scheduling changes. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how we go forward from here and what happens with these rescheduled games. If Inter Milan can pick up what they had going on before they lost 2 games back to back.
And it's actually it. When you take so much time in between games and you get like removed, you lose a little bit of that momentum.
Right.
Because now you're stuck to just training, and anyone who's ever played sports, training, even though it's required, is nowhere near playing. Like you need some of that chemistry, and like when you're not playing an actual game, it kind of removes you from it, and it kind of like I don't want to say lets your guard down. But it makes you in a little more relaxed position. It feels like you're leaning the seat back a little bit. You're kind of you're not on the edge of your seat anymore, and I feel like you lose a little bit of that.
It's also a kind of thing where, as American sports fans, we've been lucky in that regard here, and I feel like we're watching games like Serie A, and we're like, oh wow, that's crazy. Thank God that's not happening over here. Now, meanwhile, there are reports that LA County are saying that if it gets worse there, you could have every sporting event, including LA Galaxy, played behind closed stadiums.
And if it's in Los Angeles, it's only going to be a matter of time before it hits LAFC, San Jose.
Right. The whole
Imagine it, and again, the West Coast. Here's the thing: in the United States, with the way the travel thing is, like everything travel-wise in the United States, it's very easy to travel from one state to another: bus, train, plane. Oh, yeah. You don't have to.
The problem is it also sits dormant for 2 weeks before really outbreaks.
And that's the thing is you don't even know.
There's talks. It's in Albany, New York already, so it's on its way.
I think there were Manhattan's talks earlier in the
week.
Right.
So it's everywhere.
So
wash your hands.
As we were talking about before, wash
your ass. Wash your ass, everybody.
Red Fox told you, wash your ass.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Post and Pints. If you want to join in on the conversation or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, that's at Post and Pints Podcast. And remember, the banter is free, but the beer is not included. Drink responsibly.